Welcome to the Refined Podcast with Amber Anderson, where wedding planners like you come to be encouraged and challenged through radical honesty, tough love, and brilliant ideas. As a former personal trainer turned wedding planner and now educator, Amber is known for helping wedding planners grow through her no BS yet considerate and thoughtful approach. The Refined Podcast tackles the issues you think about but fear bringing up, all with Amber's trademark sass and wit. So as you listen, be sure to hit that subscribe button, making sure you never miss that one little nugget that could change it all for you.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Refined Podcast. We are still in our Dear Couples series. And if you haven't checked out the first episode of this series, be sure to do that. Here's the scoop. This podcast is focused on wedding professionals, primarily wedding planners. But we're doing a series for you, our engaged couples, to just share some information. I've asked over 8,000 wedding professionals what they wish that you knew. So here we are, okay? Now, I hope what comes out of this series is a better understanding of how things work. I have nothing to lose here. You're not my inquiry. You're not my client. So when I communicate in these episodes kind of how things work, it's coming from a place of, that's how things work. I'm not here to manipulate you or control you, okay? So let's jump in. Today, we're going to talk about Friendors, we're going to talk about discounts, and we're going to talk about trust, all right? Friendors. I have a love-hate relationship with the idea of Friendors. Let's talk, what is a Friendor, okay? In the wedding world, we often refer to those on the team that are pulling things together, like the DJ, the florist, the planner, all of that. They're called vendors, okay? Now, if you have a friend that is a photographer that is gifting you their photography services for your wedding, we would then call them a friendor, okay? Now, here's a story. I had a couple once upon a time that had a friend photographer that gifted their services. Great photographer, excellent photographer, but not a wedding photographer. And I just saw what was going to happen. I knew it. So I hired my own photographer for that event to take pictures of the details because I need those for my portfolio. It's how I market. This was a wedding that was going to be pretty instrumental for my marketing. And I knew I wasn't going to get the pictures I needed. So I hired my photographer. Well, the friend photographer worked really well with the team on the wedding day. That wasn't a problem. They were able to hang with the timeline. Actually, some are not able to. Even professional wedding photographers sometimes struggle with that. And that's not necessarily on them so much as, all the different, everyone, professional in general. I don't mean that about photographers specifically. Everyone struggles with that. They're getting pulled 12 different directions. So imagine, not having that kind of experience and having to stay on top of it. Fresh out of the gate, it's rough. So this photographer did all of that pretty well. We got the pictures back. Again, lovely pictures, so talented, but they didn't have detail pictures. There weren't pictures of the flowers and, the invitations and all the things that this couple had put so much effort and time into weren't shown in the album. So it didn't tell a story, which is something that I think, gets lost in the whole friender piece of it. That photographer was focused on the way that they usually take pictures of people, right? So that can happen with a baker, with a caterer, with the florist, all of it. In my last episode, I talked about how, amazing baker can still miss the mark on a wedding day because they don't factor in the many ways that a cake is moved around or the temperatures that they are in or how it's going to be cut and served. And, did they prepare it in a way that works for those things and whatnot. So we want to, make sure that this person can accommodate the shift into the wedding side of what it is. Okay. So it doesn't mean that they can't, but I do think that there needs to be some conversations. If you have a planner, they need to sit down and have an hour chat with them and just really educate them and make sure that they're on top of that. And you need to pay your planner for that. I did not allow in my contracts, there were no friendors. Stationary and efficient, sure, things like that. But we weren't doing friender flowers and cakes and photography after some of those stories. And if someone really, really wanted to ask me to reconsider that, then they had to pay a consulting fee at my hourly rate. And it wasn't guaranteed. At the end of that, I would say, yeah, I think this is totally fine. Or no, this makes me nervous for these reasons. Okay. And I fired a client for that actually at one point. She agreed to those terms and then she wanted to do Friendors for florals and catering. And I wasn't going to put myself in that position. I was not going to put myself in a position where everything fell apart on the wedding day. So I fired her. She wasn't willing to budge on that. And I understand that she wanted to do that, but she didn't save any money by the time she didn't get her money back from me. So you need to make sure that if you do have frienders, that you have a contract and that they have a backup plan. Because what happens if they get sick and, or in a car accident on the way, or, do they have extra equipment if they're a DJ and something, breaks or gets rained on or whatever? Do they have extra? Can they run to their car and just get backup stuff? Because the professional DJs in the wedding industry do. They have multiples of things. And they have lots of people on speed dial to just jump in if there's an emergency. Okay. Can a DJ read the room the way a wedding needs it to be read? It's not the same as DJing a prom or a skating rink party or, a corporate event or a club. It's totally different. The way you have to read the room and move the event along is very unique in a wedding situation. And, it entails multi generations. You've got the oldest person in the room all the way to, college kids that you have to entertain somehow together. And that's real specific talent. Okay. Typically in those other situations, you've got kind of the same demographic that you're focused on. Now, another thing to consider with frienders, how okay are you with doing business with friends? We don't do business with friends. Our family, we even recently bought a house from someone that my husband grew up with. And that even made us nervous because you never know when something's going to go wrong. And actually, come to find out, the week we moved in, it flooded. And the plumber that they had hired to do that work did it incorrectly. We've had several plumbers come out since and have all looked at it and said, no, this is installed incorrectly. So now we've had to go back to those, the friends that my husband grew up with, that he doesn't know, they have not really kept up much, but like they're all in the same circles, right? So it was just awkward and it's weird and it's gotten weird. And so we are still glad we bought the house, but stuff like that happens. I had a friend do our cake. Well, what if I didn't like our cake? And what, I'm supposed to pretend I liked it? Like, I don't know. Just in hindsight, I started thinking through some of that stuff. And that was a friendship that I would not have wanted. What if she had done it wrong or didn't show up? Or, it's just a cake, right? But no, I've got emotions attached to that. And I wanted those things. And what if she hadn't done it right? I would have had some resentment towards that person. And we don't want that. I have also coordinated weddings for friends in the past, and I don't speak to any of them anymore. And I just encourage you not to do that. You have so many emotions attached to the wishes and desires of your wedding that you need to be able to speak freely. And you can't do that when you know someone. So it's lovely that they're going to gift you something. And maybe in some scenarios, you need to do that because of finances. Like if you just got to, then do it. But you've got to have a contract. They've got to have a backup plan. They have to be willing to work with your planner and be a collaborative team member. Egos have to be checked at the door. Okay. It's best if they are at least on some level professional. Great. Grandma can make a cake. No. We're talking professional bakers. They have they do birthday cakes professionally or whatever. Sure, let's talk about them maybe doing your wedding. But grandma's not making your cake. I've seen too many of those fall over. Okay. So are they at least professional in their arena of, in whatever industry they're in? And can they scale it to the event that, we're up against? Like I said, maybe they're a professional DJ and they're working at the club circuit or they're working, corporate circuit, but can they do weddings? Can they scale over to the wedding side of things, right? Do they understand proper time management? It's so different with weddings and things change so on a dime. It's not a matter of, oh, here's the timeline, follow it. It's read the room, go with the flow at all times. No loose cannons. If you don't trust them with your life, we don't trust them with anything else. Like they have to be the most responsible. They have to be available to troubleshoot. They have to be available to clean up at the end of the night, because every vendor has their own category and every vendor is responsible for the things within that category. I am there as a planner to coordinate those efforts, but I'm not there to do those things. So they're staying sober, they're staying ready to help. Okay. That said, can they be a guest and a vendor at the same time? Do you want that for them? Do they want that? Do they know what they're really offering when they offer to gift this to you? A lot of times these gifts don't end up bringing the joy that you either thought that they would. Okay. Discounts. Let's talk about that. Discounts are tricky. I think there's a common misconception that wedding professionals mark up their prices when they hear that event professionals mark up their prices when they hear the word wedding. That is a load of absolute bullshit, like absolute bullshit. Okay. No, that's not true at all. I do not know a single professional that does that. It's crap. You have been told lies. You are believing lies. It is bullshit. PITA fees are real. You're going to come be an asshole in my inquiry process. Yeah, I'll charge more because I do not want to deal with you unless the dollar is right. Okay. So don't be entitled. Don't ask all these questions that they're like, I think, people come in with these micromanaging questions. They redline the contract, and you got to ask a question and you got to understand the contract. Okay. But when they start to educate you on why something is the way it is, listen. And your response to that matters. But when in the proposal process, they're interviewing you just as much as you are interviewing them. And that's where fees may vary. The way you treat them has a direct impact on what they charge you. Now, asking for discounts, I have a belief educators are steering. It is common knowledge in the industry that discounts are not the way to operate business. We should be offering bonuses. Okay. So anyone that's educated anywhere is not really offering discounts unless it's a trade show or holiday special, like a Black Friday thing or whatnot. And even still, the encouragement there is to offer a bonus versus a discount. Here's why. When you ask for a discount, I don't feel respected. I don't feel like my services are valued. So when push comes to shove later down, and I've got 2 or 3 clients on my desk that urgently need me, you're in the bottom of the pile because you didn't pay what everyone else paid. Okay. So if you're going to ask for a discount or if you want to negotiate, then do that fairly. Say, hey, is there something, here's the number I'm trying to get to. What do we need to do to get there? And recognize that you may have to adjust what those services are. And you need to also know and recognize that some services just can't be adjusted. There is a base. There is a reason you were attracted to that vendor in the first place. There's a reason they are reputable and have the reviews that they do. There's a reason that they have the photos that they have. And you were attracted and drawn to that for a reason. So when you're asking for a discount, you're asking for less than what they typically perform and produce. So you're ultimately going to be disappointed in some of that output when they adjust what it takes to get there. Okay. And that's not fair to anybody, right? You want all expectations need you to be aligned. And there are base services within each category that they're not going to go under because they can't show up properly by adjusting that. And, if someone is not within your price point, why should they have to sacrifice their income? Just go find someone within your budget. Plain and simple. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. You need to remember that a wedding is a luxury. You are more than welcome to head over to the JP with a beautiful dress, some beautiful flowers, a lovely reserved room in a restaurant, and a cake waiting for you, and get married. But if you want to do it the way you see on Instagram and TikTok, then, there are people that are feeding their families with the income that comes from what they charge you. You don't get to ask for discounts on that. Okay. They're service providers and they're charging what they need to charge to feed their families. Margins are very, 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 very slim in this industry, despite what the general population thinks. Okay, there's no markups. There's the sticker shock is real. I get it. Please listen to the first episode about that. I go into detail about, why we're priced the way we are. But be mindful of asking for discounts. You don't want to be on the back burner when, something goes wrong. You want to be respected as much as I hope that you want to respect those that you're hiring. Okay. Trust. Last thing here. When your event professional has a hesitation about a request or an idea, that's coming from somewhere, from within their experience. And a lot of us are trained not to say, well, in my experience, or, because it just sounds rude. And, it's hard to say no and we're in this industry because we're servant-hearted and, want to bring dreams to life. Okay. But when you push and push, and break us down to where we finally say yes and it falls apart and then suddenly we're the bad guy and you write a bad review, like that's not cool. There's a hesitation and a pause for a reason. So unpack that. Why? Are there alternatives? Is there a compromise? Is there a way we can make this work if we shift priorities? Okay. But trust the event professionals that you hire. Trust them. And if they aren't trustworthy, if they've shown reasons that you can't trust them, that's a different conversation for sure. But enter the room with the idea of, I'm going to trust this person. I've hired them because they know what they're doing. And as they make suggestions, I'm going to follow them. And as I present ideas, if they have hesitations, I'm going to be mindful of that. And things will go so much better for you. Okay? Because no, you do not know better. Your idea may be great and it might have worked at another venue, but it may not work at your venue. You may have seen it somewhere else, but for some reason we can't do it with the vendors you've hired because of whatever policies they have or, I've been to weddings as a guest. I was sitting at a table. I remember this very specifically. I was sitting at a table and the layout was kind of funky and the guests at my table were like, this is so weird. Like, why are we, just kind of making an observation? And one of them was like, God, this wedding planners, I can't believe they did this. And I looked at them and I was like, well, but I could look around right now and name several reasons why this was probably done due to logistics or the fact that we're on a historically, whatever it's called, property, landmark or whatever. There's just different reasons for all, so just because something feels obvious doesn't mean that it is. Okay. We've got to, just because it works one place does not mean it's going to work everywhere. All right. Ask the question, but be willing to let things go if it would push and create risk for you. Okay. We don't want those burdens on you in your wedding. Okay. Trust. When you trust us, it frees us up to do our job. We have more bandwidth and availability, and our mindset stays clear and it reduces tension. Okay. When there starts to be a level of micromanagement and distrust and whatnot, then a client, you're not going to get the best from us. And that's unfortunate. Hopefully we will still show up with a smile even when we don't feel treated well. And a lot of us do. We do. But at some point, it's human nature to just kind of feel deflated and unable to give your best anymore. Like you've kind of drained us of that. So just know that the way you treat us has an impact on how you are, served. So a lot of us love to drop little surprises and delights along the way and go above and beyond as we can. But when all of our energy is put towards just showing up with a smile and like faking it till you make it, there's not anything else left to give. So trust frees us up, again, like I said, frees us up to do our jobs and to serve you well and to go above and beyond and to, be sustainable and our best for you. All right, I hope this episode was helpful. Please hop over to Refine for Wedding Planners on Instagram, give us a follow, and shoot me a DM if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer those and point you in the right direction.